most of their lives? Raise your hand. Who in here feels like they don't fit in anybody else's box? Raise your hands. Good, then I'm in the right room. So really, I want to start by letting you guys know I'm not a speaker. I'm not an entertainer. I'm just one of you guys. I'm an investor. I'm a guy that's been driven by financial freedom, by freedom in all areas of my life for a very long time. I've bought and sold over 1,000 single-family homes. I have a fund right now that has $32 million in equity and 275 single-family homes. We're about to lay a $50 million line of credit on top of that. I bought and sold thousands of units in apartments. I own a brokerage that sells about $12 billion in real estate a year, 37,000 units. And I've done all this always with the drive of simply financial freedom. So you talk about being different. What does that mean? Does anyone know where this is from? What does different mean? Like, we all want to be different, right? And everyone is different. We all want to be special, but everyone is special. So what does that mean special really means? So for me, different, why I love that you raised your hands. Raise your hand again if you feel different. Because what that means is you have awareness. You have awareness around what's possible for your life. So what happens in life is we all fall asleep. You got the red pill, the blue pill. One represents sleep from The Matrix, the movie The Matrix. You're either asleep into a subconscious world that was created for you by others, or you're awake at moments, planning and designing a future for yourself that leads to freedom, and then falling back to sleep and living in the habits that you've created for yourself. So in other words, your habits define your destiny. And if you set the right habits, you'll be financially free. If you set the right habits, you'll have happiness, joy, and wealth. And if you set the wrong habits, you'll have mediocrity, or sleepiness, or disaster. And it's all okay. Nothing is better or worse than the other, except what you choose. So the red pill to me means waking up at moments, being aware that you can change your destiny, but the only way you can change your destiny is to change your identity. So I know this primarily because I was just a lame kid in school. I was a mediocre kid. Anyone in here an athlete? Great, I wasn't. Anyone in here cool? Great, I wasn't. But I wasn't uncool either. I was just mediocre. I was just the middle of the middle. I got through high school completely in the middle. If you were picking 1 out of 10 kids to play football on the quad with, I'd be picked 5th or 6th. It was always that way. I was always in the middle. But the one thing I wasn't settled on was living in the middle. I wasn't settled on staying. I couldn't quite figure out why they didn't pick me to be the running back, even though I weighed 95 pounds. I couldn't quite figure out why they didn't choose me to be the quarterback, even though I couldn't throw, right? There was part of me going, something's missing here. Like, something should be better. It should be bigger. So I'm now going to show you guys a $3.5 million slide. So the next slide is a $3.5 million slide. Let me tell you how I got this slide. I was in Bhutan, and I was hitchhiking around with a group, and we had this beautiful guide. And this beautiful guide, she said, and we went to see the temple they have there, the beautiful temple in the land of happiness. And the guide said, you know, the group before you were from France, and they had a marketing department. And the marketing department had spent $3.5 million putting this study together to understand this concept. And she then said, they gave me the PowerPoint, but they made me swear never to share it with anyone. So you know, of course, my only mission for the rest of that trip was to get my hands on the PowerPoint, and I did! I sucked up to her so bad, she thought she was the greatest thing ever. She was actually really cool. So she gave me this PowerPoint, and what I'm going to share with you is this knowledge can change your life, it's changed mine, but you can take it or leave it, right? This knowledge is how you go from uncool to cool. It's how you go from middle of the pack to accelerating ahead of the pack. And it's kind of an underlying philosophy for everything I do. But I want you to buckle up your seatbelts because it's not like practical, solid stuff. It's deep. I'm going to ask you to go deep with me to look at something that may or may not change your life. So let's hit it. Okay, first off, write down the implicit system is my friend. The implicit system is my friend. The implicit system is my friend. It's just a clever word to say subconscious. But I like saying it because everyone knows what the subconscious mastering implicit makes you get a little bit further forward on your feet. So the implicit system is the subconscious mind, the part that's behind everything you're doing right now, the part that you are not aware of. And then the explicit system is the conscious mind, the part of you that you think you are. The conscious mind is the one that's thinking, what's he talking about? Is this going to be any good? Man, I'm tired. I'd like to go home. How many units does this guy say he has? Why am I listening to him? I can't wait to see my kids. I'm starving. Whatever. This is awesome. Hopefully most of you are thinking this is awesome, right? So the explicit system is the conscious process we go through. So to put this in perspective, the unconscious mind, the limbic system, works at 10 to the 11 million bits per second. By the way, I was also a C student, so I have to read that part. Our conscious mind works at 40 to 60 bits per second. To put that in perspective, the unconscious mind, your implicit system, is like a jet airliner compared to a snail. So why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because everything you think you are is irrelevant to your success. The only thing your conscious mind can do is choose to wake up and identify what habits or patterns you could implant into your being to get yourself to the next level of success. One of my favorite guys, he's crazier than a coot, but Robert Kiyosaki was one of my favorite early mentors, only through books, not through in person. And he said there's two kinds of money problems: not enough and too much. In other words, having a lot of money isn't easy. You're thinking you're crazy. But if it were easy, then guys that won the lottery wouldn't end up broke. Football players that get $50 million contracts like my hero Vince Young wouldn't end up broke. Why do they end up broke? Because their subconscious system, their implicit system, is not prepared for that level of abundance, that level of success. There's two kinds of money problems: not enough or too much. Too much is what I want everyone in this room to be prepared for. But to prepare for too much, you have to work on your implicit subconscious system. 99.9% of all information is processed subconsciously. So the rest of what I'm going to tell you is going to be how to get your implicit system on your side so that you win at a bigger and higher level. All right, key concept. Concept number one. If you do this 50 hours a year, you will be ahead of 99.9% of the people in the world. So here's the concept. Air game, ground game. Ground game is what you do naturally. Ground game is what you were born to do. Ground game is what you wake up and go to every day. I'm the 7th generation from a soldier family. My dad was a Green Beret, his dad was a soldier, his dad was a soldier, going back 7 generations. Okay? I'm the first generation, the 8th, that didn't go forward into the military. If I joined the military like my dad pressed me to do, during Gulf War I, he said, son, you should sign up right now. There's nothing like being on the battlefield. My mom was a realtor, so I immediately called my mom and said, Mom, Dad's trying to get me killed. I need a job. So I ended up in real estate. If I'd followed the ground game, that would have been the most likely path I would have followed. And I have great respect for our servicemen and women, honor them extremely highly. But I just didn't want to do that for myself. I was kind of done taking orders from my Green Beret dad. So that would have been my ground game. If you're a dentist and your dad was a dentist, or maybe you just went to school and said, I'm going to be a dentist, and you go be a dentist, and you work all the way through school and you're a dentist, that's ground game. Ground game is following what comes into your path naturally. It's just walking forward towards whatever outcome your life, your path puts you on. Air game, and all I ask for is an hour a week. Air game is stepping out of your life, surveying where you are in life, surveying your economic situation, surveying your relational situation, surveying your physical situation, and saying, is it working? Do I have what I want? Stepping out of your life, going someplace beautiful, sitting down by a babbling brook or a Starbucks or whatever turns you on, and asking yourself, am I getting what I want out of life? And if the answer is yes, awesome, celebrate, keep moving. If the answer in this area is no, write that stuff down. This is air game. Air game, stepping back, kind of being a satellite overview of your life and asking what's working and what's not. That's the beginning of the winning formula, the air game. So write this down. I commit to 1 hour a week overviewing my life from an air game point of view. All right, and here's the winning formula. Here's the way you get your implicit system to get on board with winning at a higher level. Now, who in here has more than, say, 10 units? Raise your hand. Okay, keep your hand out if you have more than 50. Okay, keep your hand up if you have more than 100. Keep your hand up if you have more than 1,000. Okay, good. So, no one has more than 10,000 in this room, I don't think yet. Maybe someone does. And then I would ask, is it all your money or is it someone else's money? But that's a separate conversation. So, the person you need to be, you guys had over 100 right there, right? Blue shirt, white shirt. Have you had to change who you are to own 100 versus when you had 1? Yes. Are you different people? Yes. Right, so they are different people. Now, it's going to happen to you naturally. You can be fully engaged in ground game and change over time. But to get to 10,000 units, do you think you can be the same or do you think you'll need to be different? You have to be different. You have to be a different person. You have to change your identity to become a more successful person. So what I'm asking you to do is consciously engage in that transformation at an earlier and faster pace. By the way, everything I'm sharing with you today, I just picked up from other people. I've been doing this for 30 years, only working on me. I'm not a speaker. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a successful, wealthy guy that had to change himself from a kid that looked like Harry Potter before Harry Potter was cool to a guy that gets to fly around on a private jet. That is cool. I don't care how goofy you are. When you have a private jet, it looks cool. People think it's cool. I don't know why. I don't blame them. I thought it was cool too the first day. That was before I had to pay the bills. So, how do you do it, right? You've got to change from the outside in. How do you change your life? In my opinion, you change from the outside in. The only part inside is the decision, the choice. I would like to have more out of this life. I'd like to be more. I'd like to win more. I'd like to have better relationships, better health, better financial freedom. That's the decision that you make in an inspired and enlightened state. But then what happens is life smothers you up with its normal crap and its normal distractions and its normal, everything is kind of designed to put you to sleep so you'll fall asleep and buy ivory soap. That's really what they're trying to do. They're not evil, it's just like this big mass of, you fall asleep, vote for me, do what I say, go buy this, pay your taxes, and just be mediocre so we can all feast off of your normalcy, right? What I'm suggesting is in those moments of inspiration, you wake up and you choose excellence, you choose genius, you choose difference for your life. And then to keep yourself from failing, you do the following things. And here it all is, I'm going to go through each one of them. But the most important one, the first one, is to create a vision of where you want to go. This is the air game. You sit down, you say, what do I want more of? What do I want less of? You can just take a journal and write down the middle of a piece of paper. By the way, I have journals galore. C student, right? But an A+ student of life today. I wish I could go back and talk to that kid that was getting thrown out of high schools because I got thrown out of 3. It was just mediocre all through college. I did get a college degree. It took me 5.5 years. I got a 2.2. And say, dude, you're not learning what they're learning because they're hypocrites to learn from them. You're learning how to learn. But I didn't get that then. It took a little bit more. It took Tony Robbins. It took some other genius mentors to sort of get me on my path. But now today I'm a massive student of life. So when I'm creating my vision, I'm not messing with you like I have goals galore in here. I have this in my old journal. I have a vision statement. I am fully participating in the co-creation of my life. I'm fully engaged every day in getting more of what I want. Okay, so that's vision. So the next piece is integrity, concentricity. All right? Say what you mean and do what you say. So everyone, repeat after me. Say what you mean, do what you say. Ready, go. Say what you mean and do what you say. See, if you're going to build this massive life, this edifice, this 10,000 units, you have to have a foundation that's strong. That foundation will be strong if you keep your word. And you're not keeping your word to be a Boy Scout. You're not keeping your word so someone comes up and pats you on the head and says, you're a good boy. You're keeping your word so that when you say to the universe, I'm going to have 10,000 units, they're going to be profitable, I'm going to take care of my investors, we're going to kick butt, they're going to make a bunch of money, I'm going to do it all while having a balanced life, being a great dad and being a great husband, the universe believes you. Your implicit system, your subconscious system, knows that when you speak, you keep your word. So if you speak it, it will become so. So you keep your word, you try to align yourself with what you say and what you do. No one's perfect. We all know people that say they're going to do this and then they do this, right? We all know someone that says, I mean, it must be mostly humans, right? Because we all set like these New Year's resolutions, we don't do them. That's okay. It's okay for them, but it's not okay for you because you guys are choosing excellence. So what you got to do is move that alignment from say and do unrelated, say and do some overlap, to as much overlap as you possibly can. No one's perfect, everyone falls short. But say and do must be overlapped so that when you say, I'm going to have an amazing life, I'm going to be massively successful, I'm going to have the private jet, I'm going to give away $100 million, whatever it is you're going to do, your subconscious is like, I got to take this guy seriously because he lines up all the time. He has integrity. He says what he's going to do. Right? So that's just a key point. Try to develop that. No one's perfect. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself grace. But over time, align with what you say and what you do. So here's one way you might want to do that. So the next piece for me is setting goals. Like I'm a massive goal setter. So I have my goals with me everywhere I go. We've got this wonderful little chemical in our brain called endorphins. And the endorphins are what gets rewarded every time you pick up your phone. So if you ever wonder why you pick up your phone needlessly when you don't need to, it's because your endorphins are getting rewarded. Why? Because as a species, when we're running around and they're trying to, nature's trying to program us to be smarter, it rewards us for figuring stuff out. So our little, being brains is gone from caveman all the way to like big cities and stuff because we're always figuring stuff out, right? So those endorphins can be your enemy or your friend. If you're looking at Facebook, 500, anyone have that app where it shows you how many times you picked up your phone today? Like 1,000 times. You're like, oh my gosh, I picked up my phone 1,000 times and probably only 10 of them were productive. That's because you're addicted to endorphins. It's not your fault. It's just what happens. So how do you make your endorphins your friend? So what I do is I write my goals down, these goals that I've gathered through my air game every year, and I put them in my journal. Okay? And then I look at them almost every morning. My goal's 100 times a year. Actually, my goal's 50 times a year. I average about 100 times a year. Because if I go with my family for a 2-week vacation, I rarely pick them up at all. But going back to what this does for me, I check off what I've achieved on my goals. And it gives me an endorphin reward. So I can't wait to get up in the morning, pick up my journal. It sits in my library, right by my library seat, which is super chill and super comfortable, usually at about 5:15. And I go through my journal. I'm like, where am I on track? Where am I not? And what I want to show you here is this is a living, breathing relationship. It's a covenant agreement that I've set with myself to reach me towards my goals. On the far left, or right, the right for you, the left for me, where there's no yellow, that's the beginning of the year. So the Roman numerals are my workouts, my Peloton rides, reading a certain number of books, days with no alcohol, days with no sugar, the things I'm tracking that I'm trying to improve on. When I finish the goal, it goes yellow. So what you'll see there is in the middle of the year, that's in June, quite a few of them are yellow. They're done. I don't have to look at them anymore. And then moving forward to September, you see there's a lot yellow. And by the end of the year, 80 to 90% of my goals I'll have achieved. Now, this is not small goals. This is goals that I set about 80 of every year that I drive my life towards. Because what I know is I will get what I think about, what I conceive, what I send my mind on. And if I allow my mind not to choose something, then whatever I get will be from the outside universe. It'll be maybe ticked off about things I can't control, like who the president is, who isn't the president, why taxes are high, why are they low, why did that guy do that, why did that person do that mean thing, that horrible thing, and why are they bombing those guys, what's going on here? None of that I can control. The only thing I can control is what's on my agenda, what's on my flight plan. So I fully engage with that on a daily basis as often as I can. Now what I didn't show you is there's two sides to the goals. The other side is my business goals. There's some confidential information on that, so I've got two things I'm looking at and working from at all times. All right, so the goals is the foundational piece. The goals is what do you want? The Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland said, she's lost. She says, I don't know where I'm going. Cat says, well, where do you want to go? She says, I don't know. He says, well, it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't choose, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. It doesn't matter what you do if you don't choose. But if you choose, then you've got to learn how to follow through. And the way you follow through is reminding yourself in the mediocre states what you chose in your ecstatic state. So remind yourself from when you're inspired, what did you choose? And then keep reading it. You're tired, you're exhausted, you got up late, you're off track, but you read it. You remember you're going to do your workouts to keep your energy right. You remember you're going to eat healthy to keep it right. You remember you're going to spend time with your wife and your kids so they don't forget who you are. You remember all these things to drive your life to a higher level. So write down your goals from a state of inspiration, review them on a regular basis to remind you in a state of mediocrity the inspiration you originally set. All right, key point. You all know this already, but this is the picture of financial freedom, right? This is how you become financially free. One of the things you should focus on from an air game point of view is your net worth and your horizontal income. And again, I love talking to you guys because y'all are me. You know this, that the only time most people look at their net worth statement is when they apply for what? a loan to buy using what? A house that's their primary residence, period. So you, on the other hand, should be looking not only at your net worth, but you should have a 5-year projected net worth and a 25-year projected net worth. I have a net worth projection of $250 million in the next 10 years with $25 million a year income. Okay? And guess what? My subconscious believes that because I follow through 80 to 90% of the time. So 80% of 250 million is what? 200 million? I'd be okay at that too, just so you know. Right? So this is the game of life. You go get a job with your skills bucket, you scoop it out of the money river, you walk up the hill to your home. This is cash flow by labor. It's time intensive. It's called vertical income. It's one source of income that you can drive up over time. I have a very good friend who's way smarter than me. He's in IT, he works for the government. Guess what his raise will be at the end of this year? The director of technology for the state of Texas Education Department or something. I bet it's right around 2%. Guess what it'll be next year? 2%. What about the year after that? So that's what vertical income is. My dad was a soldier, God bless him, rest in peace. He served 30 years for the military, and he got his raises every year 2%. All right, maybe in the 70s it was 10% because inflation was higher. I don't really know. So that's the skill game. That's where 90% of the world stay, but not you guys, because you guys are different, right? So the game you play is you spend all your money, fund vacations, school loans, rent, utilities, doctor bills, and you have net cash. You save some in emergencies, save investments, etc., and then you build pipelines to wealth. What are pipelines to wealth? That's money coming in whether you work or not. That's what I call vertical income. So vertical income is multiple income streams that come in whether you get out of bed or not. Most people don't get this game. Some people stumble into it. But at the end of the day, that's the game you're playing. Multiple pipelines of income that go straight to the money river that flow into your bank account whether you get out of bed or not. That's the game everyone in here is playing. When I meet you out in the hallways, I love it because I'm like, hey, how many properties you got? Oh, I got 3, I got 7, I got 10, I got 100, whatever it is. I love it because I have an agency with 5,000 agents in it. You know how many, when I say how many rentals you got, maybe 5% have some. I'm like, you guys are in the business of selling real estate. You know there's been more money made in the business of real estate than any other place in the history of time by like miles. Yes, it's not Facebook money, so if you want Facebook money, go do something else. It's not Apple money, but there's been more money made in real estate than any other place in the history of time by miles. So don't wait to buy real estate and wait. So you're building pipelines to wealth. So I think I currently have about 150 types of wealth coming in, 150 checks every month come into my mailbox. I do have 101 single-family homes, so if you back that out, it would be more like 50. So I have 50 different, if you took all those 100 and said, okay, that's just one unit. All right? So that's the game you're playing. Get aware of it. Get expert at it. I'm not telling you guys to brag. Hopefully, because you guys are like me, you can see it's just an example. It's what's possible. All right, so then the next thing we talk about is bucket list adventures. And why bucket list adventures? Because energy feeds you for a lifetime. I didn't get this at first. This is what I got later. So when I started off in business, I lived poor, kept poor. I drove a crappy old car. I used to recruit agents to my agencies because I bought franchises from Gary Keller. And I had such a crappy car that I'd spend all day, a couple hours trying to recruit this top agent, and then I'd be like saying goodbye in the parking lot, and I have to wait till they drive away so they didn't see me get into my crappy car. So I'd be like, bye, nice to see you. I might hover near someone else's Mercedes. I was in Dallas, of course. Hey, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Bye. And then as they drove off, I'd go get my beat up old Buick LeSabre that my mom gave me. I didn't get this piece that you have to have energy pouring into you to have more energy to serve others. And one of the things I found is by doing extreme things like, and when I say extreme, not like risky life extreme, this is the Kragabolta right here, which is a boulder in Norway. And if I step backwards or forwards, I'm dead. It's like a 1,500-foot drop. But there's a little chain to the right. That's how you kind of get yourself on the rock. And it looks like I'm standing there, but it's actually more like this. It was kind of interesting. So I went there with 12 guys in our tribe. And we all did that. And there the other one you see is with my daughter, my lovely daughter Bella. That one makes me super excited. That was in Africa. That's my wife's feet sat there. You can see her hands are clenched in terror. First off, in South Africa, there's no trial lawyers there. And second off, when they say to you, just don't go in front of the animal, you're like, this could be dangerous. But I love that picture of my daughter doing that. We had a blast, right? So why do you do that? Because it gives you energy, right? All of wealth, money is actually just stored energy. So the more energy that you can bring into your universe and your life, the more success and abundance you'll be. So speaking of energy, that's why I wrote the Miracle Morning for Millionaires with Hal Elrod. And one way to manifest energy is to get up early and do the 6 savers: silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing. And I'm pretty good at most of those most mornings. So it's all about manifesting and managing your energy. Energy is ultimately capital. Okay, the next piece. So in my triangle, that I showed, the secret of success, you've got all these pieces. So now you've created a powerful vision for yourself for the future. You've got your daily goals. You've built in bucket list adventures. We got a saying in Texas, that dog won't hunt. Now, I used to date a girl, and she had this dog that we started running. We would run together with the dog, and the first few mornings, the dog thought that was great. It came with us. But when it realized we were running beyond its willingness to run, the next mornings, it would just lay there. We'd get, come on, Cody, let's go run. And the dog would be just looking at you. Are you crazy? I'm not going running with you. That's nuts. You guys run way too far, like 3 miles. So that dog won't hunt. That dog just sat there. People ask me sometimes, you've been very successful, what keeps you motivated? Why are you still inspired? And the reason is, I know the dog inside me has to keep hunting. So the way I keep the dog in me from hunting, to keep hunting, is I set more and more interesting things to do, like the bucket list adventures. Like, could I go live overseas in Spain with my entire family for a month and just immerse ourselves in learning Spanish? That's interesting to me, but it costs money, so how can I set that up? Okay, so you set that up. That's the energy piece, the bucket list adventure piece. You're looking after your body. Then how do you compress it and keep yourself moving towards your goals? Well, the next thing is your tribe. Who you hang out with is probably the most important decision you'll make in your life. I think Warren Buffett or somebody said, if you take the 5 people you hang out the most with and you divide their net worth by 5, that's probably your net worth. So choosing who you hang out with becomes the most important thing you do. And once I got this, it was sad for me, because I had some friends that I had to kind of let go. And I still love my friends, I like my friends, but if their idea is to watch football all weekend and chase girls in the evening at the bars and just get drunk and then have a hangover the next day, I got no time for that. There was definitely a time where I thought that was the thing to do. It wasn't until later I realized that I actually never enjoyed it that much. I just did it because that's what my friends did, my peers. Today I hang out with people that are financially free. Here you can see some of them. There's David, there's Brandon, there's Josh, and my tribe. Every one of the people I hang out with are either financially free or on a path to financial freedom. Why? Not because money matters, but because when you have that kind of freedom, you can really choose your life destiny. When you're financially free, you have more money coming in through mailbox money every month that you need to live, then you can decide. You can sit on your couch and watch Star Trek forever and eat a bazillion pizzas, or you can go like my friend Tim Rohn and try to change the world by bringing the knowledge and training of motivational speaking to the inner cities and different places around that don't have it. And that's Tim Rohn right there. So who you hang out with matters. That's why we wrote our 3rd book, Tribe of Millionaires. You can get that book for free at www.tribeofmillionaires.com. So if you bought it outside for $20, I'm sorry, you got robbed. Shipping and handling is $7.99, so you're $12 down. Sorry about that. You can go get it for free. You just got to fill out a form. You can get it there. All right, so that's peers. Who you hang out with really matters. And so, again, this can be hard for people. Like, yeah, that guy was my best friend forever in high school, and the fact that, he does coke every night and cheats on his wife doesn't bother me because he's my friend and I'm loyal. That doesn't work for me. I have standards. You meet my standards with friends. You don't meet my standards, you're not my friend anymore. I'm sorry, it hurts. Life hurts sometimes. But think about your daughter or your child or your son. Who would you want them hanging out with? And treat yourself the same way. So peers are possibly the most important. So going back to my high school days, wasn't an athlete, worked out but not too much. Played Dungeons and Dragons. Anyone else play Dungeons and Dragons? I was really good at it. Yes, I love you guys. I don't play it anymore though, I moved on. But now today I work out all the time. Like, I'm into working out. I have my Peloton. I have my weights in my house. I hang out with a bunch of very healthy people. I spend a lot of effort working on health. And part of the reason was all my new friends, a lot of athletes end up being successful. So a lot of people I hang out with are just athletes. That's what they did. I remember in one of my early meetings at GoBundance, I was sitting there with the guys and we were just kind of masterminding our ideas. And it's like 2 hours into it, they're like, okay, who wants to go for a hike? Let's go for a hike. I'm like, hike? What are you talking about? We're in the middle of a business meeting here. They're like, no, we're all going for a hike. So we went out for a 2-hour hike and we came back and we did some more. But over time, hanging out with these guys now for 10, 11 plus years, it's become second nature to me. Who you hang out with really matters. So your peers are the most important thing, and then it's your mentors. Who coaches you? Who do you let mentor you? And so, I spent $50,000 to go hang out with Richard Branson. Yeah, and it was worth it. So why would I do that? Why would I spend 50 grand to go hang out on Richard Branson's island and that's not counting travel? And the answer is, because he's Richard Branson. Because he runs 300, he started 300 companies, 150 of them are successful. He's worth $5 billion, he lives life on his own terms. So I spent the 50 grand, and what did I get out of it? I got a lot. So here you see me beside him. He had just been meeting with his assistant. They were sitting, there's like 40 people there and Sir Richard. And he's sitting there meeting with his assistant. So I come over and I say, can I sit right here beside you? And she gives me the glare like, buzz off. And I'm like, but I'm okay with it. And he says, you can sit there and just don't speak. So I'm like, okay. I sat down. I was so glad I brought my journal, because otherwise I'd have felt really doofy just playing with my fingers. But I have my journal, and I started taking notes. And I listened to Richard Branson as he sat next to his personal assistant. And what I learned was, and I knew this, I guess, that Sir Richard is dyslexic. So he doesn't do words very well, I guess. And so he doesn't do his own emails. So when Sir Richard is sitting there, he is literally having her read the emails to him, and then making decisions based on what, or they both have a computer together. And one of them at that time was to Eileen Sandberg, right? Is that right? Did I get that right, Facebook? Sheryl Sandberg. Thank you, Sheryl Sandberg. And I heard him say, well, just tell Sheryl we'd like her to be at the meeting. We'll take care of everything. I thought, that's kind of cool. Like, he's just emailing Sheryl Sandberg. And he's trying to I said to Sir Richard, I'm like, what inspires you? He had this weird feeling like when I was talking to him, he wasn't that interested. I don't know why. And he said, he's a great guy. He's introverted. So he said, oh, well, next week we're bringing 16 billionaires into my island, and we're all going to agree on one of the world problems that we're going to solve together. That sounds kind of cool, huh? A little bit more interesting than me going, well, how do you run 150 companies, Sir Richard, with just you? But he never answered that question, by the way. I asked him that one like 3 times. How do you run 150 companies being one person? I asked it 3 times, and he just waffled off in different directions. And then one of his assistants, or one of his right-hand people, I don't know, assistant may be a poor term, but she came over to me and she said, I'll tell you how he does it. He has 3 really, really, really great lieutenants, like right-hand men or whatever, or women or whatever, like 3 really great people, and they kind of do all the nitty-gritty. So Sir Richard's here, he's got 3 great people, they crush it, they do all the stuff, they probably get very highly paid, and Sir Richard stands up there and kite surfs with naked models on his back and all the cool stuff he does. Now what was cool about that is there was resonance. So my #1 business goal I set many years ago is to have 5 people report to me that make $1 million per year. I've always thought so I took a lot of classes on hiring, and I sort of learned you can hire 10 people to do one job for the same salary. 2 of them will make you look like a genius. 6 of them will just keep your business running at a purely mediocre level, and 2 of them will crash your business. And if you don't have processes in place to make sure you're leaning towards the top 20 or 30% of that demographic or that group of people you're hiring, you could have a lot of problems. Anyone ever been embezzled from in here? Raise your hand. I'm 5 times and counting. And some of you guys may not know. 5 times that I know of. So if you get the wrong ones, your business can crash. You get the right ones, guess what? You look like a superstar. You just get to walk around kite surfing with naked models, and everyone thinks you're a genius, but it's really because you have incredible people taking care of a lot of stuff. So I set that goal many years ago. Today I have 2 people that work for me that make $1 million, and I have 2 at 500 plus, and I'm taking applications. Now the only requirement is that you make me $2 million or more. So that's the only requirement. In fact, I've always wanted to call Sir Warren Buffett and just say, hey man, I want to hire you. I'm going to pay you $2 billion a year. You're like, well, what would I be doing? My coach, you'd be like, buzz off fly. But anyway, if you didn't say buzz off fly, you'd say, what would I be doing? I'd say, your #1 job is to make $4 billion a year. I bet he can do it too. He'd be a good hire. Gary Keller right there is my long-term mentor. He's the CEO of Keller Williams. I've been around him. So what I didn't say is my dad was a soldier. When he retired, my mom became a realtor. That's how I got into the real estate business. She happened to be the 5th agent at a small company called Keller Williams, which at that time had 5 people. I joined that company in 1995, and they had 800 people. And I think I was 25 or 6 years old. And Gary Keller became the teacher of the group. He's probably a billionaire by now. He's not in the billionaire list, but he owns the company and it makes $100 million a year, so he's got to be pretty close to being a billionaire. So I've been around Gary for a long time. And one of Gary's gifts, his his genius zone is reading all the information, getting everything he knows, and pouring it into you. So it's been wonderful to have him as a mentor for all these years. And then I just saw Michael Bloomberg speak, and they said, no pictures with Michael, the mayor, please. And so I ran up and got a picture. Because that's what we do, right? We're different. So I think if you look at his eyes, he's thinking, this. And I was just curious what 32 billion felt like. So I was like, oh, that's what 32 billion is. So mentors is the next piece. Like, who can you draw into that will pour into you and take your life to the next level? So one of my goals every year is to spend a lunch with a billionaire. I don't always achieve that, but it's 9-figure guys or above. And I've got a cool little script, so I'll email people and I'll say, there's a guy in Austin, what's his name? Smith. He runs Vista Capital. I think he's worth $5 billion. One of the richest guys in Austin. He was the guy that paid everyone's student loans recently at a college. Robert Smith, is it? Robert Smith? Henry Smith? Anyway. So my email is always this. I haven't had the courage to email him yet, but I've done this plenty of times. I got to be ready, because I got to be ready to respond with full love and appreciation and sucking up. And so when I started my fund, I emailed guys that ran billion-dollar funds in Austin, and my email was, one was to a guy called Jeff, was, Dear Jeff, I heard great things about you. I have great respect for you. What would I have to do to earn lunch with you, or earn the right to buy you lunch? And they ignore you, so I send another one, they ignore you. So about the 5th email, I get a response, sure, we can have lunch in 6 months. So then I go to the lunch, and I always spend the first half of the lunch just asking questions and taking notes, like, how did you get to where you are? What made you successful? What are the most important traits of success, right? They can feel really important, and I am curious. I'm not just doing it to go through it. I am curious and all that stuff. Usually find out what charities they care about. And then I dig into my questions about, after 30 minutes of prepping and creating a stage where I've shown respect, then I dig into my questions. So I'm starting a fund, what do I need to know? And I get into the pieces that I really want. After the lunch, I found out what charity they support, and then I send a check, and it can be for any amount. It can be $1,000 or $100, or Jeff suckered me into doing, I don't know how much I do for Habitat for Humanity. Anyway, it was a lot, too much, like $200,000 or something. But anyway, I got into Habitat for Humanity. I'm on the board. They call them board meetings for a reason. And I was on the board for 3 years, writing a bunch of checks. They only want you on the board because you can write checks. But anyway, Jeff gave me a bunch of mentoring, and he was my teacher. So I'll send a check to the charity they mentioned in the lunch and say, hey, I know there's no way I can repay you. So in honor of you, I want you to know I donated $1,000 or $100 to this charity that I know you care about, right? So again, it's working it, it's sending a book that I've written, honoring them, just kind of building the relationship. So that guy, another guy, a couple of guys that run billion-dollar funds are now my peers, they're my friends. Eventually they can become your friend, friends, sort of friends, like second-level friends. And that's the way to earn the right. So I've got to do one with this guy from Vista Capital, but I haven't done it yet. Because who you are is going to be defined by your identity. Your identity can only expand by being around people that have a more expanded identity than you for what you're trying to do. Does that make sense? All right, I wanted to get done early so I could get to some questions. So my last slide. Anyone know who this is? That's Sean. Sean Peterson was a beautiful, beautiful man. He died this year. If you don't know him, he wrote a book, Get Off Your Butt. He was on stage with Tony Robbins. He served on Bill Clinton's staff back when Bill Clinton was in office. And he was born with brittle bone disease. He was born with a disease that caused him to have 1,000 bone breaks before he stopped counting. Sean was an amazing man. The funny thing about this picture when I see it is I always forget he was in a wheelchair. His personality was so big and so warm and so generous that you never noticed that he had a disability. You never noticed, really. He made you so at ease that you never stopped to think how unfortunate is Sean or how unlucky to have this disease. You just loved the guy, and he poured into you. He was a teacher, and he had a PhD in psychology. And anyway, so he got a new wheelchair, and he had just celebrated his 40th birthday, and he mentioned how amazing it was that he made it to 40. He'd lived longer than anyone had ever lived with this brittle bone disease. He fell off, he hit his head, and we were just building some stuff together. I was super excited about it. He was a great speaker, a great coach, and he hit his head, and they took him to the hospital. And his last words were, that I know of, to his friend Joe, was, "This happened for me, not to me." And so they took him in, they operated on his brain, and he just bled out. He died. So Sean lived a life that most of us could never imagine. The challenges would be unbelievable, and the scales he ascended were amazing. And all I ask for you guys is that when you live your life, make sure that you live the way Sean lived, and you maximize your life in your 40 years, and you live really, really freaking large. And hopefully some of the tools and ideas I've given you today, and then I'll open it up to questions, will help you live large. Thanks a lot. I'm David Oswald.
David, thank you so much. That was amazing. Let's give one more hand for David Oswald. As you know, David is a New York Times bestselling author, and his books are available out in the lobby after you leave if you would like to purchase any of them. Thank you much for this.
Yeah. You got any questions?
Oh, we're doing questions?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You guys got questions?
I apologize.
Any
Who
questions?
has questions?
Right there.
Awesome, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I do a lot of work trying to erase limiting beliefs in my subconscious around money, trying to grow my bucket.
Yes.
And I do that in meditation, I'll do tapping. And I do specific stuff that, and I'll be honest with you, it feels like slow work.
Yes.
Are there any, do you have any advice to accelerate that curve for me?
Sure. So when I had a lot of self-doubt, which I did early, I remember when I bought my first franchise, it was in Dallas, and I would drive from Austin to Dallas. And I remember coming over this rise on I-35 and seeing Dallas and literally being intimidated in my body. I'm just a dude driving a car. I'm like, who am I to deal with this scale of the city? Like, who am I, little military brat kid, to deal with that? The two things that have carried me a long way in life, one is a saying, I think it's Chinese or Japanese or something like that, and it's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I remember I would tell that to myself over and over again, because I knew, like, this was 30, probably 25 years ago, I knew I was at the very beginning of a long journey to wealth and success. And so I used to say to myself, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I'd kind of forgotten that I used to say that until recently, and now I realize I'm like on the 900th step, or 900th mile, or 800th mile. I'm like, wow, holy crap, I've come a long way. That's one. Second one, and more probably meaningful for me, was why not me? So I used to have these doubts. And anyone seen the movie A Beautiful Mind? Remember that? The guy's crazy. And it's a really well-written movie with an Australian actor. Someone's really good. Who is it that helps? Russell Crowe, thank you. And Russell Crowe's crazy. It's a true story of the guy that won a Nobel Prize for something. And he sees these people and he like goes through all these fantasies, and then you realize they're all not real. He's what's that word? Schizophrenic. So he sees these people that aren't really there. And at the end of the movie, you see him walking in to get his Nobel Prize, and the three beings that don't really exist are there. They're like, hey, yeah, they're trying to get his attention, and he's just shut them out. They're still there, but the volume's turned way down. And so one of the things I used to ask myself is, why not me? Why not me? Like, why somebody has to be a billionaire with health, somebody has to be a great father, somebody has to have balance, somebody has to have an amazing life. Why not me? And I find that it's more powerful to live into the question than to live into the answer. So all those doubts I used to have, I kept saying, okay, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. All I need is commitment. The warrior's path is one foot in front of the other, so keep walking towards my outcome. Why not me to be massively successful? And I turn the volume down on my doubts. Does that make sense? So I do more deals in a year now than I did in a decade in my 20s or 30s. And I still have doubts, but the volume is just so low that they're like those little schizophrenic characters just going, you can't do this, you're not worthy, you're not going to make it. And I don't listen to them. I'm like, why not me? Yes, they're there. They're not going away, but I'm not listening to them anymore. I hope that helps. The other one is to hang around with people where success is normal. Hang around with people that are wealthy so that wealth seems normal. I can tell you, like, I just met with a doctor. I do this all the time. It's the most fascinating thing to me. So I'm sitting in my house. My mom's got a friend over. He's a doctor. And I'm like, where do you practice? And he's complaining about HMOs and whatever's going on with doctors. And I happen to kind of get a vibe, like, how much do you make? Like, $400,000 or $500,000 a year. She's making $400,000 or $500,000 a year. And I'm like, how much passive income do you have? And he's like, I don't have any passive income. I mean, I have a surgery center that I get paid on whenever I send people for surgery. I'm like, yeah, that's medical. But I said, what's your passive? He has no passive income, right? And he's brilliant. He's a freaking doctor, right? So he makes a lot of money. He's a doctor, but he has zero passive income. I could bring him into our tribe and go abundance. I could bring him into this tribe in bigger pockets. Diego, are you out here? Where's Diego? Diego, what's your passive income?
About 5,000 a month.
5,000 a month. Diego is beating that doctor. Diego has 5,000 a month. If you heard Diego's story, just look up Diego Corzo online. Go look at his TEDx talk. He has an incredible story, and he's beating that doctor. What's your overhead a month?
It's about 4,000.
So his overhead is 4,000. He's making 5,000. He's technically financially free. That's what's possible in this group in bigger pockets. These guys have over 100 units. It's possible. My single families generate $50,000 a month after all my expenses. It's possible to have all this stuff. And if you're a doctor, a brilliant guy hanging around with doctors that all have no money, guess what your experience of the universe is? No money. And if you're hanging around people in bigger pockets, or in my tribe, Go Abundance, it's normal to be financially free. So you gotta hang out with those people so you can change your identity. You gotta let it sit on you. You gotta let it sit into you. It's really hard to let go of the negative stuff, but it is possible, and you just got to do it. Or you can go to Rhythmia and do ayahuasca. Just kidding. It's legal out there. Next question. Yes.
We heard from a lot of amazing speakers today that are particular rock stars in the real estate world, and a lot of them mentioned they got lost in their journey with respect to their family and what's important. How do you stay on task for you?
Yeah, so incredibly great question. And in my goals, you'll notice that I always put family at the top. And the reason I put family at the top is it's the one that I drop the most easily. So my family is always right at the top. I got a do-over. So I have a 31-year-old kid, and I also have a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old that's nearly 3. And with my first daughter, I was a very poor father. And I've apologized to her. We have a great relationship. She's a therapist in Denver, because when you have a kid at 19, they end up either going to jail or being therapists, I think. And she's an incredibly beautiful soul. And back then I just worked. Honestly, that's what I did. My identity was wrapped up in work. I wanted to win, so that's what I did. As I got older, what I realized was if you keep working all the time when you don't have to work, you're sick. So what I mean is if you're financially free and you're still living in the battlefield of work and it's at the expense of your family, then you have a sickness. It's like the schizophrenia that the guy has in The Beautiful Mind. And as I learned how to set these goals and prioritize, I just took them off of business, the exact same skill set that I developed doing my business, and I put the family first. So every year we do an epic vacation together. We do 3 other sub-vacations, so once a quarter we're doing a vacation. Once a month I spend a day with my kid with no technology, each kid separately. So I'm just a goal-driven guy. So I set these goals, and what's funny about them is, again, being older, I guess, maybe being softer, like being with my kids is probably my most favorite thing to do right now. And I couldn't have said that in my 20s. So my answer to you is prioritize, put it at the top of your goal list, and have grace and forgiveness for yourself if you're still ascending and climbing. And it's really, really, really hard, and I think it's hard for everybody. I know another guy who's a very successful professional, and one of his kids just committed suicide, and the other one is an addict. So, I mean, it happens. I know I'm doing better this time, and thank God, grace to God that my first one came out okay, and she's helping and healing the world, and we own property together, and I've been pouring into her now, obviously helping her be more financially successful and everything else, and she's just a great kid. So it's not easy, but just prioritize it at the top, and then book the amazing vacation. So once you book the vacation, see, I think with kids and family, it's memories. That's what they're going to have. So I'm just trying to create amazing memories every year that we do something incredible. We went to Ireland this year, and my daughter loved it. Of course, she's just as happy to be in the hotel swimming pool as she was to go see the ruins, but it was still super fun. Other questions? Yes, sir.
How do you change identity?
So the way you change identity, thank you, great question, when it's subconscious, is the first thing is awareness of what you want to change. Okay? So let's say, for instance, let's pick something like weight. Let's say I was overweight, okay? So I'm aware that I want to change it, and I'm also aware that I have a certain genetic code and I have a certain, program to eat or to live a certain way. I'm like, okay, I want to change this. In my inspired state, I want to change it. So you write down 5 things in that particular area that will lead you the direction you want to go. So I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat better, and I'm going to go to sleep more, get more sleep, drink less alcohol. Any of those could work. So you write that down. Then on the workouts, you know that that's a struggle for you historically, so you prepay for a coach, a physical coach, a trainer, to show up at your door every morning at 6 a.m. If you're a guy, I suggest a beautiful girl. If you're a girl, I suggest a beautiful guy. Somebody good looking is ringing your doorbell to get you to go work out at 6 a.m. in the morning. If you're married, you may have to flip that, get a guy. So you know this person's going to show up, right? That's step 1. Step 2, what did you love doing? What do you love? Is it basketball? Was it soccer? Was it, ultimate frisbee? Find something you love and join a league. So you're making the choice easy. You have to kind of create this new reality where that choice becomes easy. The thing I do is I have an organic chef cook food for me, and you're thinking, wow, that's easy for you to say you're rich, but it doesn't cost me that much money. It's about $350 a week to have this chef bring this food that I just have to heat up in my house, and it's a salad, a soup, and a main course. We try to do keto. I do intermittent fasting now. So I've got these food in my refrigerator, so it costs me about $300 to $350 for the labor plus the food, so it's less than $500 a month. It feeds a week, and it feeds my wife and I and my kids probably about 20 meals. So you divide 20 into 500, what do you get? 25 bucks a meal? So it's not that's per person, right? So 75 for the whole family. So I built that in so that when I'm hungry, by the way, there's no junk food in my house, very limited junk food. My wife likes to torture me and buy ice cream occasionally, but I try to keep temptation out of my path. I have a jar full of nuts on my kitchen. Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, walnuts. And so when I'm hungry, I graze the nuts. Does that make sense? That sounds weird. So the way you change your identity isn't easy. I said 1,000 steps. The way I've changed myself from a procrastinating video game playing, Dungeons and Dragons playing C student to who I am today has taken me 25 years. If you expect overnight success, people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So if you never quit on you, which is the why not me piece, never quit on you, then surround yourself by people that are exercise fiends, that do amazing, fast stuff. Pay for access if you have to. Be around coaches, have physical coaches come, have chefs come. If you will change that environment of anything you want to do, you can change your reality. It's not an overnight success deal, but it is doable. Listen to the podcast, listen to the training, read the books. If you email me personally what you're specifically wanting to change, I'll be happy to help. I'm telling you guys, the one thing I've done is change my identity. The one thing that's gotten me where I am is change my identity. And it hasn't been easy, it's been painful, it's been a process. But it's borne massive fruits. We got 4 more minutes, so a couple more questions. Yes?
What did you learn from your mom?
My mom was the most amazing person, she's alive, my dad's dead. My mom had integrity and work ethic. The integrity was one piece I got from her. She served people relentlessly. She worked. So when I was 14, my dad retired from the military and she got into real estate. And I remember she would leave the house at 5 a.m. and come home at 10. Now I know that's not unusual for some people in this room because we're hard workers, but she would go to work at 5, come home at 10. And I remember when I got into business, she was the top agent in the company. Someone said to me, your mom got lucky when she got into business because it was early at Keller Williams. She got a lot of profit share, a lot of opportunities. I'm like, I wasn't going to argue with her because if you argue with an idiot, you've got 2 idiots. So I just said, yeah, she was lucky. But I know what that luck was. It was getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, going to work till 10, 7 days a week, and serving the customers with integrity. One of the things my mom used to do is not be afraid to be blunt. So if she thought they shouldn't buy a house, she'd say, I don't think you should buy this house. It's on a busy street, it's got power lines in the back. A lot of realtors were afraid of that. I picked up from her the vibe of just say what you mean, say what you think, say what you mean. Obviously, there are rules we have to follow. You can't say some things, but you can definitely say there's power lines in the back and this is on a busy street. I don't think you should buy this house. And that level of bluntness and integrity is something I picked up from my mom and the work ethic. She's English, by the way, so she's a wonderful one. From my dad, I learned bravery, courage. So here's what my dad taught me. You guys want to know what my dad taught me? He said, son, when you're setting up claymores to ambush the enemy, you set them up with 2 sets of explosives. The front set and then the back set. And then as the division walks by, you blow the front set first, because it's human nature to turn around and run the way they came, and then you can kill more of them with the second set. And then the second thing he taught me, which I've never forgotten, he said, son, if you're ever in an ambush, you charge right towards the shooters, firing and making as much noise as possible. It's the fastest way out of the bullets, and most likely, it's easier to shoot someone that's running away from you than to get shot while running away from someone. So you charge right at them, make a bunch of noise, and shoot like crazy. And if they break and run, you're more likely to get them than they are to get you. The fastest way out of an ambush is right into the attack. So there you guys go.